They say ignorance is bliss. But I learned early that ignorance is also a strategy. A powerful one if you know how to play it right. My name is Claire Thompson. I'm 38, a former attorney, and for the last 5 years of my life, a full-time wife and mother. I used to walk into courtrooms with heels sharp enough to draw blood and a voice that could silence a room. I won cases with facts, with patience, with quiet confidence. But none of that mattered once I married Michael. He didn't ask me to quit law. Not directly. But it was there, in the way he'd sigh every time I got home past 7. In the guilt-tripping glances when our son had to stay an extra hour with the nanny. In the sweet, condescending tone he used when he said, "Babe, don't you think it would be nice if you didn't have to worry so much?" I told myself I was doing the right thing. Staying home, raising our boy, being present. But slowly I felt my edge dulling. Courtrooms turned into carpool lines. Legal briefs turned into grocery lists. I wore yoga pants more often than suits. And Michael, he became distant. Not in the big, obvious ways. No, Michael was far too careful for that. He was charming and attentive just enough. But women like me, we feel it. The shift started small. A different cologne. Lock screens. New passwords. Less eye contact. A vague smile when I asked how his day was. One night, I asked him how his client meeting went. He blinked. "Which one?" "The one in Palo Alto," I said. He smiled too quickly. "Oh yeah. It was fine. Just some tech startup guys. You know how they are." Except I didn't know. Because he'd told me the week before that the meeting was in San Jose. That's when it began. Not the cheating, I suspect that had started long before. No, that was the moment I realized. If I wanted the truth, I couldn't confront him. Michael was slick. Trained in PR. A man who could lie without blinking. Spin anything into a misunderstanding. If I challenged him head-on, he'd twist it, gaslight me, maybe even turn it into my fault. So I chose a different path. Became stupid. Not literally, of course. But I stopped asking questions. I laughed off inconsistencies. I played up the stereotype he already half believed, that I was just a tired mom with soft hands and too many daytime talk shows in her head. It wasn't easy. Swallowing my pride, holding my tongue. But it worked. Within a few weeks, I saw his confidence grow. He got lazy with his lies. Started leaving breadcrumbs. And I took notes. Michael had 2 phones. One for work, one personal. I noticed how the personal one always stayed face down. I waited until he showered, then snapped photos of the lock screen, the pattern, the app icons. I used my old skills, discreet, methodical. My fingertips danced through his deleted messages like a forensic tech, and I stored every screenshot in a hidden file on my own device. I smiled at him every morning. "Sleep well?" he'd ask. "Like a rock," I'd say, even when I hadn't slept at all. Some days I hated myself for it. Pretending to forget things. Asking dumb questions. Acting surprised when he told me what airdrop was. I had once negotiated $1,000,000 settlements. Now I was pretending not to know how to back up photos on iCloud. But every little performance bought me time. Every careless move he made was a thread I could pull. And after 6 months, I had enough threads to weave a noose. I learned about her by accident. Or maybe not. Maybe I subconsciously wanted to find her. She was sloppy. Or maybe too confident. A red heart next to her name. Just S. I thought it was Stephanie at first, a girl from his office who wore too much perfume. But the timestamps didn't match. Stephanie was in Chicago on the day he got a text that said, "Last night was worth the risk. Same time next week." I dug deeper. It wasn't Stephanie. It was Savannah. Savannah James. My former yoga buddy. We met in prenatal class when I was pregnant with Nathan. She had twins. We shared protein shake recipes. She once babysat for me when I had to take my mom to the ER. I stared at her photo on Instagram for hours that night. Her bright smile. The same one she gave me at Starbucks last week when she asked about Michael's new job. She knew. She knew I didn't know, or thought I didn't. The rage I felt that night was nothing like courtroom fury. It was deeper, personal. Like betrayal had crawled under my skin and made a nest. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I did something far colder. I invited Savannah to brunch. She said yes. We sat on the patio at Bella's cafe like two PTA moms discussing gluten. I asked about her kids. She showed me photos. I complimented her manicure. She blushed. And when she asked about Michael, I smiled. Oh, he's traveling so much these days. I barely see him. She laughed. Still Mr. Corporate, huh? I said nothing. Just sipped my mimosa. She didn't know I'd hacked Michael's calendar. That I knew he'd been in LA the same weekend she posted a photo of the view from a mystery hotel rooftop. She didn't know I'd printed receipts from his expense account. That I'd highlighted 2 dinners at Nobu and sent them anonymously to his company's compliance department. Just a test. To see what would happen. And Michael had no idea I was building a case stronger than any I'd built in my legal days. 2 years passed like this. Pretending. Smiling. Waiting. I watched Savannah flirt with Michael at our son's school fundraiser. I counted how long his hand lingered on her shoulder. Filed it away. I let him explain away lipstick on his collar. Must have been from hugging one of the secretaries goodbye, he said. He nodded. Those secretaries wear some bold shades. I watched his face for guilt. There was none. They thought they were winning. Both of them. But the truth is, I had already won the moment I decided to stop playing their game and make them play mine. And now the clock is ticking. Soon I'll light the match. Soon they'll watch everything they built burn. But for now I'll kiss him goodnight. And in the morning I'll pack Nathan's lunch, wave goodbye, and tell Michael to have a great day. And I'll mean it. Because it might be his last good day for a long, long time. The first time I really cried, was in the laundry room. It was stupid. He'd left one of her earrings in the pocket of his coat. A tiny gold hoop with a single fake diamond. Cheap enough to mean nothing but personal enough to mean everything. I remember holding it in my palm and thinking how small it was for something that could make a grown woman collapse. I locked the door, turned the dryer on high so Nathan wouldn't hear, and I just sat on the floor and sobbed. Not for him. Not even for her. But for the version of me that still believed marriage was safe. That being a good woman, loyal, smart, loving, was enough. But I only allowed myself 10 minutes. I always set a timer for my breakdowns. After that, I wiped my face, flushed the evidence, and went back upstairs to finish dinner like nothing happened. Michael came home late that night. Again. He said he had a networking event. I nodded, reheated the pasta, and handed him a glass of wine. I even laughed when he called me his beautiful little housewife. If he only knew. By that point I had everything I needed. Texts, receipts, hotel reservations, photos, even a recording or 2. But I didn't want to confront him. I wanted to corner him. There's a difference. A confrontation gives him room to lie. A corner. That's when people break. So I made a plan. I waited until the holidays. I knew he'd be distracted. And I started planting seeds. I reconnected with old friends. I reached out to my old firm. Quietly. Casually. Dropping hints about wanting to return to work. Asking if they'd heard of any consulting gigs. One of them, Jessica, still ran a boutique legal practice downtown. She invited me to lunch. Jessica had never liked Michael. She was the kind of woman who could smell male ego the way sharks smell blood. Over Caesar salads, I told her everything. She didn't flinch. Just leaned in and said, "You want help burning it down?" Smiled. "No. I want help building the match." That week, she connected me with a private investigator. His name was Drew. Quiet, discreet ex-military. No questions asked. He gave me a burner phone and a Dropbox link. "Upload anything you find," he said. "I'll handle the rest." And I did. Photos of Michael and Savannah holding hands near Union Square. A video of him leaving her apartment at 3 a.m. bank statements showing thousands spent at jewelry stores, hotels, and restaurants, none of which I'd ever seen. Drew compiled it all into a neat, tidy package. Meanwhile, I played the part. I let Savannah come over one afternoon to catch up. She sat in my kitchen, legs crossed like a teenager, sipping my coffee and asking if I'd thought about getting Botox. "You're still cute, Claire," she said with that fake innocent smile. "But girl, time is cruel to us all." Smiled back. "You're right. That's why I've been thinking about doing something bold." "Oh," I leaned in. "I'm thinking of going back to work." Her smile faltered just for a second. She recovered quickly, but I saw it. "Michael okay with that?" "He's supportive," I lied. "I think he's proud of me." I watched her lips tighten. A flicker of something passed over her face. Was it jealousy? Anxiety? Guilt? I couldn't tell. But I knew she felt it. And that was enough. The next phase of the plan was Michael's birthday. I spent a month organizing a party. Just family and close friends, plus a few of his colleagues. People from the firm he respected, maybe even feared. I rented out a wine bar downtown, made it elegant but low-key. I wanted him off guard. I invited Savannah too. Course I did. She wore a red dress. Bold. Obvious. The kind of dress a mistress wears when she wants to mark her territory. I pretended not to notice when she placed her hand on Michael's back a little too long. And Michael. He acted like the king of the room. He kissed my cheek, made a toast, laughed with everyone. But I was watching. I caught the glances. The way he'd scan the room to find her. The way she bit her lip when he laughed. Halfway through the night, I pulled Savannah aside. "I have something to show you," I said. She looked nervous. "What is it?" "Just come with me." We slipped into the bar's back patio, quiet and empty. I handed her my phone. And it was a video. Michael in bed. Naked. Laughing. Savannah's voice, off camera. Her face turned white. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. I stared at her. "That's not the question you should be asking, Savannah." She opened her mouth, then closed it. I leaned in. "I know everything. The text. The hotels. The earring in his coat. The time you told me you were visiting your sister. But we're actually in Santa Barbara with him. I know it all." She shook her head, tears forming. "Claire, don't. Just listen." I took a deep breath. "You're going to walk back in there, smile, and leave early. Say you forgot something. Don't make a scene. After that, you're going to disappear from my life. No more brunches. No more gym classes. No more accidental run-ins. Got it?" She nodded. "And if you don't," I continued, "every woman in his office, every client on his board, every person on your mommy blog, they'll get a lovely little folder from me. With photos, videos, bank statements. Would you like that?" She didn't answer. Just turned and walked away. Michael didn't even notice she left. That night he thanked me. Said the party was perfect. Said I looked beautiful. Kissed me like he meant it. Kissed him back. Because I wasn't done yet. The final part of the trap wasn't about her. It was about him. I needed him to believe he was safe. That the storm had passed. And so, for the next few weeks, I played the doting wife again. Cooked his favorite meals. Sent him flirty texts. Laughed at his dumb jokes. I even booked us a weekend getaway. Just the two of us. He bought it. Completely. At dinner one night he took my hand and said, "I know I've been distant. But I'm lucky to have you, Claire. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." Smiled. I know. What he didn't know was that the divorce papers were already signed, filed, and sitting on his boss's desk, along with a full report detailing his conduct, misuse of company funds, and breach of morality clauses in his contract. He'd find out tomorrow. Tonight. I just wanted one last glass of wine. One last moment to sit across from the man who thought he had won. I wasn't stupid. I never had been. I was just patient. And patient women. We don't scream. We shatter, quietly, strategically, and leave the pieces for them to bleed on. It happened on a Thursday. I'll never forget the way the light poured through the kitchen windows that morning. Soft, golden, deceptively gentle. I was stirring my coffee when I heard Michael's car pull into the driveway, much earlier than usual. At first I thought maybe he'd forgotten something. But then I saw his face. Eyes not angry. No, anger would have been easier. They were shattered. He slammed the door behind him. You went to Arthur, his boss. I sipped my coffee. Good morning, sweetheart. Want some toast? Claire, don't do this. His voice was low, broken. I stood, calmly walked over to the table, and placed a brown envelope in front of him. Heavy. Familiar. He didn't even open it. He knew what it was. You sent them everything, he said. The photos. The videos. The bank records. Jesus, Claire. You destroyed me. No, I said, folding my arms. You destroyed yourself. I just sent the evidence. He sat down like his knees gave out. They've suspended me, he said, staring into nothing. I might lose my license. Savannah's husband knows now. Did you know she was married? I raised an eyebrow. Of course I did. I've had lunch with him. He looked up shocked. You talked to her husband. 6 months ago. We compared notes. Lovely guy, actually. He sends his regards. Michael buried his face in his hands. I stood still for a moment, letting the silence settle. Letting the full weight of 2 years hit him all at once. You know, I said, for a while I thought about begging you to love me again. I thought if I got thinner, if I acted dumber, if I stayed quiet enough, you'd come back to me. He looked up slowly. His eyes were red. Claire, I was stupid. No, I shook my head. You were arrogant. You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought I couldn't put it together. You thought what? That I was just some airhead in yoga pants who'd never question why her husband kept business trips with no receipts. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. I walked to the drawer and pulled out another envelope. This one smaller. I placed it next to the first. What's that? He asked. Divorce papers. He blinked. Wait. No, Claire. Come on. We can fix this. I laughed. Actually laughed. Fix what? The lies. The humiliation. The months I spent pretending not to notice you sneaking in at 2 a.m. reeking of another woman's perfume. I made a mistake, he said, standing. We've built a life together. Family. Doesn't that mean something? It did, I said. Until I realized I was the only one building it. He looked around like he didn't recognize the house anymore. You don't have to do this, he whispered. You don't have to throw everything away. I tilted my head. I'm not throwing anything away, Michael. I'm taking back what's mine. He stared at the divorce papers, then at me. You've changed, he said bitterly. No, I said, picking up my coffee again. I've just stopped pretending. He didn't argue after that. Just turned and walked out. That evening I took a long bath. For the first time in 2 years I didn't check his location. I didn't rehearse lies in my head. I didn't cry into a towel with the door locked. I just soaked. In lavender and silence. Over the next few weeks, the pieces fell exactly where I knew they would. His firm cut ties quietly, swiftly. Arthur called me personally to apologize, though he never said what for. He didn't need to. Savannah moved. Her husband filed for divorce too, apparently. I didn't reach out. I didn't need revenge on her. She was never the prize. The house. Kept it. The car. The bank account. We split it, of course, but let's just say I knew where the skeletons were. I hired a designer. Painted the walls, redid the bedroom. Got rid of anything that reminded me of him. I started waking up earlier. Not because I had to make anyone breakfast, but because I liked the stillness. I took a job consulting with Jessica's firm. Just a few hours a week to start, then more. Felt good. Like stretching muscles I forgot I had. One night a few months later I went to a gallery opening. Alone. I wore a navy silk dress and heels that made me feel like a goddess. A man struck up conversation by the wine table. His name was Daniel. Architect. Divorced. Funny in a quiet way. He asked if I'd like to grab a drink sometime. Smiled. Maybe. Because now I had the power of maybe. Not the desperation of trying to keep someone. Not the fear of being abandoned. Just the quiet, grounded certainty that I'd never again settle for half of anything. Weeks turned into months. I saw Michael once more. Accidentally at the grocery store. He looked smaller. Not physically, just faded. Worn. He smiled at me, unsure. He nodded. That was all. Closure, after all, doesn't need to be loud. Just needs to be real. And me. I was real again. I was a woman who'd once played dumb to catch a liar. And now, I was a woman who'd never have to pretend anything again. Not smart. Not strong. Not worthy. 'Cause I am all those things. And I always had been.